Hello, welcome back. I'm here in the flesh. It is Saturday, January the 12th, 2019. Can you believe it? Here we are. I don't have a guest tonight. I didn't really want a guest tonight. I wanted to talk. As the show has progressed, I've gotten more comfortable with doing some of these episodes where I just kind of bring up a topic and talk to the audience directly. Tonight's one of those nights. I enjoy this. Don't get me wrong, this is certainly a guest-driven show, and I enjoy my guests, and they're much more interesting than I am, but once in a while, I just like to kind of do away with all the stress of a guest and just kind of tackle a topic on my own. I want to give a quick shout out to Explaining Esoterica, Fascination Street, Jimmy, Mika. I've been talking to Joe from the Carolinas. I haven't heard back. CW Chanter, Occult Priestess. Let's see, Jiggy, Paranormal Hood. I haven't said hello to a lot of you, and as of late, and I just kind of wanted to rekindle those friendships and promote those shows and those people as well. And also Shadows of Your Mind magazine, Dave Partridge. I've been talking to him, and we're going to have Dave back on sometime soon. Names you should look for coming up in the future here for the show will certainly be Cheryl Costa. I'm trying to wrangle John Greenwald, and so I'm working on that. And of course, I'm not going to go on about this too much, but 1 week from tonight, I'm going to be in New York. I'm going to be in the heart of the Hudson Valley 1 week tonight, and I'm going to be doing a remote viewing workshop with Alan Steinfeld at COSM. And COSM, COSM, is the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors, and that is the facility and kind of art installation writ large, if you will, of Alex and Allison Gray. And if you know anything about alternative consciousness art or psychedelic art, if you will, although it's certainly not all psychedelic, or if you've ever heard of the band Tool, or seen a Tool album, or seen a Tool t-shirt while you're walking through Walmart at 12 o'clock midnight, then you will have most likely seen some artwork by Alex Gray. There's a good chance somewhere, if you're watching this show, that you've seen his artwork in passing and you didn't even know it was him. He's a fantastic artist. He has decades and decades of experience in the art world. Him and Allison, they've done performing art pieces, in person, process art, all kinds of projects. So Alex and Allison Gray, they certainly had a well-established art career long before Tool existed as a band, or before Tool had them doing artwork for them. So I'm so excited. I'm going to be flying from Phoenix to LaGuardia, and then I will take a train out into the Hudson Valley and get a connecting ride and go out there. And it's going to be a really quick turnaround trip. I'm going to go out there the day before. The next day, I'm going to shoot footage, at least get an interview with Alan Steinfeld. I don't have a commitment from anyone else. If so, that's a bonus. If not, that's okay. I can live with that. And I want to get some footage of the facility itself, and capture whatever content I can for you, because the only reason I'm going, I mean, I'm thrilled to go and I want to participate in this, but I'm doing this for the show. This is a business trip. So I'm going to get as much content for you, my subscribers and viewers, lovely people that you are. I'm going to get content for you, share with you maybe something that you haven't seen or something you can't go see for yourself. And hopefully I'll give you a look behind the curtain there at COSM. And I'll share the results of the remote viewing workshop. I'm not going to tape the remote viewing workshop. I'm going to be a regular participant there. I'm not going to make that kind of a media event. I think that would be rude and untoward anyway. I think it would skew things. So I'm going to just participate in that, and I'll give you some personal reportage on that after the fact, and we'll see what happens. And also, if you're wondering, the Wickenburg material is getting finalized, and I think you'll probably be seeing some Wickenburg footage while I'm on the road next Friday and Saturday night. I think that's the plan. So there will be content while I'm out on the road. And then as soon as I do that, that's Saturday the 19th. And I'm coming back the next day on Sunday. I'm not playing around. I'm just going to participate and to conduct some interviews. And I'm coming back home. And then on the 25th of this month, Mark Gemini Thwaite will be here with Peter Murphy and David J. Haskins. They're doing a 40-year retrospective of Bauhaus music. And if you haven't heard Bauhaus, you should go listen to it. I don't quite know how to explain it to you other than they are certainly the root of goth music. So if you like alternative goth music and you love deep, sexy vocals, Peter Murphy. So yes, I'm quite smitten. I've been a long time Peter Murphy fan. So we're going to be talking to Mark Gemini Thwaite. He has played guitar for the Mission UK. He has played for Gary Newman. He has recorded with Peter Murphy. He has toured around the world and back again and then some with Peter Murphy. And so we'll be reviewing Mark Gemini Thwaite's career, what he has going on. We'll be talking about what new material he may have going on. And we'll talk about the adventures of the road. So we have that. So that's a big deal. And last but not least, the Area 51 trip has been finalized, the crew for that. And in alphabetical order, because, I'm going to play fair. It's going to be Rex Bear of theleak.com. I believe that's correct. If I'm wrong, don't crucify me. Rex Bear of Disclosure Con fame. He's going to be there. Kelly Farmer of Explaining Esoterica and Esoterica Street. Heidi Gadd of Aliens and Beyond, the podcast. Michael Moriarty of Pursuing X fame, and also known as the Professor. He's going to be going along, and myself, and then of course, no one can forget Doc Skinner. He will be going along, and he's going to be bringing some camping equipment, and we're going to do this together. I'll give you more details about that. Look for last night's show. It was with a gentleman named Will Tryon. And he owns the company adventurephoto.com. And they're the company that does the tours out to Area 51. And it was through that interview that the original concept for this trip kind of took shape. And so we're going to be working with them to help facilitate this great adventure. We're all going to be cross-pollinating and helping each other do create content for each one's respective shows. So there'll be a lot of that going on, and you'll hear more about the Area 51 trip. But before that, Alan Steinfeld, 1 week from tonight, and that'll probably be broadcast on the following weekend. I hope that our post-production process goes a little easier, and I will have done a better job at capturing original content. I think the Wickenburg stuff was pretty rough, and they probably had to do a lot of extra work because of my lack of cinematography skills, but I'll try to up my game. Anyway, so a week from tonight, I'll be in New York State in the Hudson Valley, which is also very famous for a lot of UFO activity. So, in my downtime, what little I have, I'm going to be keeping an eye peeled, and I'll get as much as I can to share with you. And then just on the 25th, Mark Gemini Thwaite, very well known, very famous, world famous alternative rock guitar player. So big things coming up for this show. And then, our regular mix of other commentators and guests. And I've had some spectacular guests lately. And I just want to give a shout out to all those people. As I mentioned in the title of the show, and you're going to forgive me, I'm not in the chat room tonight because I am I'm going to be reading some notes out of my phone. So I'm not looking at who's in the chat room, but thank you for being there, whoever you are. And even if you're here after the fact, thank you as well. I appreciate you being here. Tonight's headline. Um, this came across the Mysterious Forces live desk, and it caught my attention. And I know that we've had some radio bursts from outer space, and I'll touch on that by the end of the show. And we've had a couple of other rumblings in the ufology community and so on and so forth. But, everyone tends to glom on to all these little bits of information, these stories that come along. And I want to talk about something different because we do geek stuff, we do tech stuff here on this show, and it's I want it to be a little more eclectic. So I'm going to step away from our normal topic tonight. And of course, it has something to do with sex, and everyone loves sex. Who doesn't love sex? So raise your hand if you like sex, or used to like sex, or plan on liking sex in the future. And that should be all of you. Anyway, so I found this interesting story about the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, which has just occurred, CES, as you may very well know it. And a lot of these articles and some of this material, it all came about, it was all posted and published yesterday, which was 1/11/19. And I found an article in Upworthy, and this piece was written by Todd Perry, that's TODPERRY. This was published on 1/11/19. I always give credit for reporters' hard work and publications. I'm not here to pretend like I've conjured up material, or I'm not going to cite sources. I'm certainly not going to play that game. And I'm going to very slightly paraphrase the headline for this article, and it is CES banned sex toy for women, but awarded one for men. And I thought it was also pretty telling that the way this story unfolded. And if you think that sounds absurd on the surface, just give a listen. I'm just going to read small portions, so don't come after me, YouTube. It's just fair use. This is reportage. Apparently, there's a startup company, and the company itself is not a person, as I understand it. It's the name of a company, but it's meant to sound like a person. Laura DiCarlo. It's a woman-owned and ran startup, and quote unquote, they're determined to change the face of pleasure products. And they were selected as a CES 2019 Innovation Awards honoree in the robotics and drone product category for the OSE. And I hope I'm not butchering this. It's OSE, but above the E is the little apostrophe mark. So if I'm butchering this, please forgive me. But I'm going to assume that this means OSE, the OSE personal massager. And according to the CEO of Laura DiCarlo, Laura Haddock, and she's also the founder, she says this revolutionary hands-free sex toy for females uses new robotic technology that mimics all of the sensations of a human mouth, tongue, and fingers for an experience that feels just like a real partner. And the electronics are synchronized in such a way as to create what is quote unquote called a blended orgasm, which stimulates women in more than one place at the same time. And you can imagine what the results of that may very well be. Think Meg Ryan in When Harry Met Sally. And that's probably the result. So you might think, hey, this is cool. A female ran, and I think there were some male engineers involved in the R&D for this product. But overall, this is a female-driven enterprise. And when the CTA, who is the organizer of the event, was criticized, they came back with a press release, which is like so 18th century. It's very puritanical. And here is the it's the Computer Technology Association. And it says, in part, entries deemed by CTA in their sole discretion to be immoral, obscene, indecent, profane, or not in keeping with CTA's image will be disqualified. CTA reserves the right in its sole discretion to disqualify any entry at any time which, in CTA's opinion, endangers the safety or well-being of any person or fails to comply with these official rules. That's interesting. And you might say, okay, well, we want toys for kids, we want toys for adults, and by that I mean computers and tablets and electronic devices. Obviously not these kinds of toys, but these are the toys of adults, electronics. Let's face it, all of the virtual reality games, all this stuff, it's just, you know, we're big kids. It's all toys. A lot of it's used for business, of course, and it's very innovative when it's used for business. But, you know, a lot of this it's mixed. You know, we use this technology for business and pleasure, obviously, and no pun intended. And the CEO of the company, Haddock, this Laura Haddock, she came back and called the CTA out for gender bias. And you may be thinking, well, you know, they want to keep their technology show family friendly, and maybe they don't want vibrators out there for everyone to see. And I'm not even going to say kids, because I'm kind of with Bill Maher in the kids department, in the sense that, you know, yes, there are children in the world, but what about adults? And he calls the adults the veterans of childhood, which I love. And so I don't think that we should always contort ourselves tremendously because there are children in the vicinity. And there's appropriate boundaries for everything, of course. I'm not going to get into that. But, you know, I'm not going to say there are kids at the CES running around. It's possible, I suppose. I've never been there. I can't say. But maybe they don't want vibrators out there. And you could say, you know, well, they don't want that kind of thing out there. Well, here's where the hypocrisy comes in. In 2018, literally, the CES awarded a literal sex doll for men that was launched, and it was displayed on the floor at CES. And a virtual reality porn company also had a booth, or a way to put on headgear for virtual reality. And people could stop and watch porn on the floor of CES in 2018 at the booth of this 3D or virtual reality porn company. So you can go through CES in 2018, and especially I'm not going to get into the gender thing. Anyone there could stop and watch porn. Anyone there could see the very anatomically correct sex doll with electronics, obviously built to be, you know, Blade Runner like responsive, you know, in everybody's wet dream, right? So they'll allow innovative sex dolls to win an award to be displayed. They'll allow people to watch porn on the floor of the CES. It's not being publicly displayed, of course, but it's right there accessible for you to watch. And they allow that company to market there openly, right? They're making no secret that they're a virtual reality porn company. So, you know, there's that. But oh my God, if you present something that was made to bring pleasure to women, that might actually eliminate the need for men, at least on a temporary basis, suddenly it's profane and it's abnormal. And I think that it's ridiculous. I think this is antiquated, and I think it's misogynistic. And I just in relationship to this article in general, I just want to read to you some of the responses that came up on Twitter. Someone named Elizabeth K said, so a sex robot for men is neither immoral or obscene, but a sex toy geared for women is. which sad emasculated soul made that judgment call? And Joseph Moog, it's Moog, and I know that Robert Moog was pronounced that way, so I'm going to run with that. I don't think it's Moog. At CES, he says, way to uphold the stereotype of a male-dominated tech industry, banning a female sex toy while showcasing tons of male-oriented sex products. We'll be glad to see the downfall of you and other organizations with outdated attitudes like yours. And I couldn't agree more. And I didn't want to just stop at that, because a story about a vibrator is not that big of a deal. But think about it, they awarded this company this honor and then revoked it once they figured out what was going on. So I looked into this a little more, obviously, and I found another story, and it's from The Guardian. And this was published on October 12th, 2018. So it's just a few months old. It was the end of last year. And this article was written by Marie Hicks. And the title is Why Tech's Gender Problem is Nothing New. And I'm kind of fascinated by the sub byline for this, or headline rather, is it says, why tech's gender problem is nothing new. And underneath that, it says, decades after women were pushed out of programming, Amazon's AI recruiting technology carried on the industry's legacy of bias. And this is excellent reportage, and I encourage you to look this up. And they're talking about Amazon, the company Amazon. Their AI recruiting technology developed a bias against women because it was trained predominantly on men's resumes. And Amazon at one point shut the project down, but this showed that this kind of mechanized sexism could take place within the algorithms because it's a male-dominated industry. And your favorite company and mine, Facebook, allows the targeting of job ads by gender, resulting in discrimination in online job advertisements for traditionally male-dominated jobs, from construction to policing. The article also goes on to say the practice has long been illegal in traditional print media, but Facebook's targeting tools encourage it. Not only can this affect whether women and non-binary people can see ads, it also affects male job seekers who are older and therefore viewed as less desirable by many employers. Facebook has come under fire for illegal advertising practices in the past. Notably, it scrapped thousands of micro-targeting categories after a 2016 ProPublica report showed how it allowed racial discrimination in housing ads. So there you go. If you want to say, well, if you've got nothing to hide, who cares about your privacy? Well, they're getting your demographic information, and they're targeting, and they're manipulating the advertising to appeal to you. But on the other end, they're also letting the advertisers pick and choose who their audience is, so that if you're company X and you have some ageism going on and you don't want to pay the higher salaries that people in their mid 40s and on up might want, as opposed to some kid that's 28 years old who's still wet behind the ears, then you just target all the wet behind the ears millennials. Sorry, millennials. I don't literally mean that. I love you. But, you know, target the younger people who may be less discriminating about jobs and job duties and pay rates. And, you know, older employees, I think, are more reliable. I don't want to get into all this, but, you know, there's ageism, sexism, there's everything. And so they can allow these companies to target who's going to see that message. This is, everyone wants to freak out about social engineering. And certainly, I believe, through false flags and other kinds of social engineering techniques, let's say. I think the powers that be, the government, the world government, and those who may be pulling the strings behind the scenes, of course, they do their damage and they do what they can to socially engineer us. But what has really become the most powerful force for that kind of social engineering that everyone feared so much was brought about through social media, and done simply for harvesting demographic data on you and me to enrich companies and to help them more accurately target their audience. So the free market decided to really hammer us, the consumers, the general public. It was the free market that did it. We didn't need Big Brother to come in. We didn't need the CIA. We didn't need the NSA, even though all of those people are up to their dirty tricks. We didn't need them to come in and do this to us. It was the market. It was the desire for profits and money and market share and going public. That's what did it. It was money. It was greed. Never underestimate the power of greed, my friends. That's part of the lesson here. It's greed that pushed us towards this social engineering, not so much a desire for some kind of inherent control over humanity that the banksters and other geopolitical financial organizations or cabals, whatever you want to call them. I don't want to feed too much into that, but there's certainly a deep state. There's certainly a breakaway civilization that exists, that is real, that works behind the scenes, and they're not on our side. And I just want to get into this a little more. I want to extrapolate a little bit. Gendered and radicalized harassment online goes largely unchecked. Likewise, Google's YouTube has come under fire for algorithms that appear to push radicalizing far-right content onto casual viewers, while Google itself has faced accusations that its image search and autocomplete features rely on and strengthens racist and sexist stereotypes. So this is, once again, from The Guardian. You can check this out for yourself. October 12th, 2018 is when that was published. The piece is by Marie Hicks. And it's interesting reportage. It's something to think about. We haven't been thinking about these kind of issues. This is kind of beyond, this is not just an extension of the Me Too movement, which I know we're skating perilously close to politics here, but we're really not. This kind of transcends politics. This concept of this social engineering through social media, how ideas are being shaped, opinions are being formed and manipulated. And, this is a lot like the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, at the beginning of the 20th century, and especially very late into the 19th century. As soon as we figured out how to build a factory and start mass producing products, and our infrastructure kind of exploded in terms of roads and railways and ways for us to ship goods from rural areas into urban areas. Once that distribution network started to grow and change, it changed our society so much. So much. And we had kids working in factories, we had kids working in coal mines, we had people working 14, 16, 18-hour days, just crazy, ridiculous stuff. Companies were polluting. They would go out back where the creek was and throw a bunch of toxic waste out into the creek. And, it was the Wild West of industrial manufacturing and pollution and exploitation of the workforce. And I think that's where we're at with social media and technology. I think we've had that first push, kind of that first wave, kind of like a tsunami that kind of came in and pushed everything out of the way and moved everything around. And now things are starting to kind of settle. And we're starting to see what the implications and what the power of social media is. And you cannot underestimate it, people. Do not underestimate it. The fucking president of the United States is on Twitter every day, and the whole world waits with bated breath on his next utterance on Twitter. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And just, even though you're watching this on YouTube, there's this is all a balancing act, right? We can use this technology and we can use this networking capability to inform people, to enlighten people, and obviously to entertain. We have entertainment and reportage kind of mixed together here. I've said reportage a lot tonight, haven't I? I like that. I should stop. I'm going to go back and watch this and be like, what the fuck is wrong with me? So anyway, go back, take a shot every time I say reportage in this episode. I don't know. I don't know if I could even do that myself. Anyway, I lost my train of thought on where I was going with that in terms of just social media, us being at the beginning of that, and how powerful this is and how much it can kind of warp not only our perception of reality and warp our perceptions of our friends and the people in the next town over, it can also warp our perceptions of ourselves. And if you start to look at yourself through the mirror, through the reflection of social media, and you're going to invest your sense of self-worth and your safety and your security in that kind of image, that kind of otherworldly avatar, that digital avatar of yourself, if you will. If you start to invest in that and lose sight of the here and now and the flesh and what you're eating, what you're putting in your body, the company you keep, the quality of the air in your community, whether the local government has you in mind when they want to protect you from pollution and other abuses that corporations tend to fall into just to save a buck. You know, this varies widely. You know, there's everything from like the protections that places like California have for consumers and citizens, and then you have Flint, Michigan, and both of those situations exist here simultaneously in America. And I think we're going to find through this exploration of technology, the way we're having this marriage happen between us and technology, as we figure out in this infancy of this technological age, how to integrate this into our lives into helpful, useful, healthy ways. And then we're also, I think, starting to see right now the unhealthy side of this. And it's just like anything else. It's going to have to be used with moderation and used with caution, I think. So, you know, but that's up to each one of us. Each one of us has to do the hard work within ourselves to find that place. You know, no one can impose that on us. And some people may not want to dig that deeply within themselves. They may not want to know, you know, they may not want to look, they may think that all the duck face selfies in the world are going to, you know, all the likes, the little serotonin rush you get from the likes and all that stuff and the sharing, you know, it's like, ooh, that feels good, but it's empty platitudes. It really means nothing, you know, in terms of your real day-to-day life. You know that. I'm preaching to the choir. I don't want to go on and on about that, but you know that. And last but not least, in relationship to this topic, excuse me, the professor should have put a link in, and there was a quick little video by Mashable, and this was also published yesterday, 1/11/19, and it's also about this startup, Laura DiCarlo, that was snubbed at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas this year. They were given an award, an honor for technology they used to have a great innovative vibrator that was going to help women have fantastic orgasms, and they took it away because they said it was immoral and or obscene. And yet they had sex dolls last year by companies ran by men that they gave awards to, and they let people watch porn, albeit not being shown publicly to everyone. But if you chose to stop at the booth with the virtual reality porn company at CES in 2018, you could stand there on the floor with people walking by and watch porn. That was allowed at CES. But God forbid that you get a vibrator for women and put that out there. So I don't know if the overarching political climate has anything to do with this or not. I don't want to blame everything on that. Maybe there's just someone with a stick up their ass at CES or whatever, but I think they're right to call this out. I think this is misogyny. And if you're a woman out there, just know that I brought this topic up for this show tonight because I want to defend women and I want to help women out there. My sisters out there, I think we need representation. I like what I see in the world of politics and other venues where women are getting more and more empowered. And since this is a show that deals with technology and progressive type topics, in terms not in politics so much, but in ways of living, states of consciousness, yes, UFO disclosure and other kinds of paranormal activities, all these things are kind of forbidden knowledge in our society. And this show, Mysterious Forces Live, most certainly deals with all of these taboo and hidden subjects. And so we'll be getting more and more into some topics like this. And I have a keen interest in technology and what happens. And I think we're going to see the playing field get leveled out here. And I think that women and men are going to be more equalized in society in terms of recognition for the work they do and the pay they get for that work. And I think within the next 20 years, things will be a lot better. There'll be positive changes in that department. And that's all I want to say about that. I did want to mention quickly, I suppose, that someone hit me up and they were unsure about these radio bursts that were happening in this other galaxy. We had only the second instance that we know of publicly. I will put that little asterisk there of a repeated radio burst from some as yet unknown sector of the universe. And this has only happened 2 times. And this information was just released, and there was some hubbub and all that. There was a few headlines, and people got excited about it. And I get it. I'm into astronomy, and astronomical phenomena is vastly interesting to me. But I didn't get my feathers too ruffled up over this. I think as our technology improves and we think of other ways to observe the universe, that we're going to get weird bursts of gamma rays and radio waves. And I mean, it's possible it could be an alien civilization, of course. But come on, this is from a location that's over 300 million years ago. What are the chances that if a civilization existed then, that they even exist now? Or I don't know. I just don't think the criteria is strict enough to hang your hat too firmly on the idea that this double radio burst is necessarily emblematic of an alien civilization. I would need to see a lot more evidence in relationship to that to, maybe there's something about the nature of the radio waves that I don't know about, some technical aspect of this, which makes it more interesting. But on the surface of the topic, we are infants when it comes to this technology and our scientific process and how we perceive the universe. And we certainly have many, many more unanswered questions than we do answered questions. So I don't think we can get a couple of radio bursts from deep space and really start talking about aliens. I think it's putting the cart before the horse, if you will. And you know me, I love my cliched metaphors, right? So I'm just going to say one more time, I'm super, super excited about what's going on. A week from tonight, I'll be in the Hudson Valley. I won't have any happy music to listen to, but hopefully there'll be fascinating conversations. There's going to be live music. If you live in the New York area, I don't know if Alan's remote viewing class or workshop rather, has sold out or not. You can check into it. If there are tickets available, we'd love to see you at COSM. I'll do a little bit of promoting for them. But most of all, thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Share the video. Show me some love. I always appreciate you. I'm going to go back and look at the chat room comments after I get done. Thank you for being here. Think about this. Let's get rid of the misogynistic streak in the tech industry. Let's balance things out. All we want is equality. We don't want to dominate over men. We just want equality. that's my 2 cents on that. Thank you so much, and be looking for that Wickenberg content next week. I love you all. Thank you for being here. Happy New Year once again, and I'll see you next week.